tell you, I was thinking because I just thought back to like a few times where like the stuff you'd say, and I'm like, is he crazy?
Hello, welcome back to Evolve Podcast with me, Louis, and I'm legally blind, Sam.
Fuck you. I'm gonna ruin the YouTube monetization off the bat, right? F you, Louis. I've been through a lot today. I've just been through a lot.
Talk me through it, bro. What's going on?
Talk about it anymore. People don't deserve to hear my
What's
stress.
going on? What's going on, bro? Tell me about your week.
This week has been... I had so many big plans for productivity, and I've done it again. I put so much on my list, and then I somehow scare myself from doing just one of the items on the list, or I overcomplicate how I do the first thing, and it just doesn't get done properly. So I'm really annoyed with myself right now because I booked today and yesterday. So for the listeners and viewers, we're recording this on a Friday, so episode 2's just dropped, and I should be happy, right? I should be happy episode 2's dropped, and we're doing things. But no, because yesterday I said, I've got the day off, I'm gonna build a website. I'm gonna wrap up this Evolve website. It's gonna be a quick thing. I've done websites before, it'll be done in a day. It didn't. I spent the whole day working on one bloody feature, which now works, which is great. But in the grand scheme of things, it definitely wasn't worth the effort I've put into it just to add that little bit. So I'm annoyed about that. 2, today I thought it's going to be a busy day. I've got to meet some old friends I used to work with. I thought, okay, and I've got to record a session with Louis today because he's got London Marathon coming up. Okay, cool. So let's stagger it this way. I'll wake up at 9. I'll finish up the website stuff I'm doing. Then I'll do the housework I had planned, which is to like reseal my shower tray because I didn't know if you recognize this, but I'm a man. Like, a man does his own plumbing, innit? Like, that's the man's job. So I'm doing a man's job, Liz. And tell me why that went completely wrong. Tell me why I have sealant all over my body and I had to take 3 showers to get it off. Tell me how smash is an exaggeration. I've scratched my glasses, and now all I see is the blurriest of lines across my vision. I don't even know if I can show on the camera, but you can kind of see it. Like, I'm going to do what the makeup artists do.
You can a bit. Yeah? Actually, when you remove your hand, you can see it more.
Exactly. And it's been like, and I'm also aware everyone is now meeting up for drinks, and they're all there like, where's Sam? Oh, typical Sam. He's always late. Sam's always late. So that's in my head. So right now, Louis, I've not got the wins I was expecting to have. Shut up. Shut up. I just want to do well and prove people wrong and like come to every episode of mad productive news, and I don't have anything amazing to shout about, and I'm really upset. That's it.
Yeah, it's this is good, right? Because this is the lonely chapter, right? Because we had the hype of launching the first one. It's got it got a decent amount of plays. Episode 2 now. It's I'm going to be fully transparent because I hope this goes into like the hardest edit of all time. Right now we have 6 plays on episode 2 and like 4 views on YouTube.
Louis, you're doing this wrong. This is what you're meant to make me feel better right now.
No,
you're not making me feel better. I feel sad.
Listen. This is long-term gratification because this is going to transition to the hardest edit of all time when we laugh, be like, "Ha! Remember when no one viewed our shit?" So
true.
Bro, I'm trusting in the process. So it's all good.
Fine.
And look, and instead of you going out drinking, you're now doing something productive. So
I wasn't going to drink anyway. I was going to show off my nice car and then come home. That's what I was going to do. I wasn't even going to do much.
But Sam, job's not finished. You got shit to do.
True.
You're right.
You're right. You ain't wrong.
So
you ain't wrong.
I understand your grievances, but you've just got to roll with the punches. You're doing the thing. That's what's most important.
True.
It's not like you woke up and didn't try to do anything.
Yeah, I tried, man.
So, and you still...
I'll take it, thank you.
You still are further ahead than where you were yesterday. Quite literally. Even though it was one bit. So, it's all good, man.
Space.
Like,
I will say I have one win. I bought our domain name.
Oh, you did?
I did.
What is it? Tell the people.
It's the podcastevolve.com. Hopefully, by the time this is out, the website will be live already. Hopefully. The pace my life is going, Louis. The pace my life is going. I don't even know if my house will have electricity by the time this goes live. And the pace is going. They're just not in line for me. And it looks like it's raining. Oh my God. I'm going to go for a walk. This is not the day. Louis,
okay,
make me better. Tell me about your week.
It's okay. You know what, man? It's been an interesting week. I'm in such a contemplative sort of like state of mind at the moment, and I'm not trying to, because I know I have so we record this on a Friday. This currently 19th of April. The London Marathon's on the 21st, so it's in 2 days. So this whole week, I've told myself I am choosing to not stress because I have the marathon to do, and I'm just choosing not to stress. I easily could have been stressed by things at work this week and wrapping things up because like 2 of my colleagues were ill. I basically were covering a lot, and I was like, I'm just choosing just to not let this piss me off because there's bigger things here that for me to worry about. And I was like, I want to make sure my sleep's good, want to make sure my diet's good, want to make sure I'm drinking water. And I was like, I know I haven't done for my company, a lot of editing and things like that, but it's fine because I've also been editing all the podcasts, and now we have all the episodes scheduled. So I have done editing this week. So I'm choosing to not stress, and I'm now got my out of office on, and I'm not in the office now until 7th of May. And I'm going to take this time to kind of actually switch off for the first time in probably years. And I hope that I come back after the 2 weeks with like a lot of focus on kind of like what's next, because this week's just been podcast editing or marathon. And obviously the marathon is a big chunk of that. But also because I know I'm away for a couple of weeks and I want to be able to switch off. That's why I edited most of our episodes for the next few weeks and just got it done. So again, it's just something I don't have to worry about.
Appreciate you.
No, that's all good, man. But yeah, right now I'm choosing to not overdo it and not burn myself out, because I easily could have done this week by thinking, I should make these edits and stuff like that. And I'm using AI to help me out, which is good with
Ain't no shame
stuff.
in it, man. Ain't
So
no shame in it. Everyone's doing that.
no, it's working smart, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel good. I feel very focused. I've done my last training run today. It was like a cheeky 5K, and I flew through it. And another goal I hit is I wanted to hit under 90 kg for when I did the marathon. That was my weight goal, and I hit that this week. So I've lost 5 kg since January, and this is the lightest I've been since uni. So I'm pretty gassed about that. And
were you lighter than this at uni? Sorry,
I was lighter than this at uni. I think I was around 85 at uni, but
yeah.
I'm not sure in final year. I probably was 85, 86 in uni, but I actually look in better shape than I did at uni. I think my body fat percentage is lower than it was at uni.
Swimsuit season, summer body.
So yeah, I feel good, man. Oh, bro, I caught myself in the mirror this morning. You have the front, and then you get the. I was like,
yes.
Oh,
yes.
I was like, yeah,
yes. Dude, I think did you go to Rosie look at this, look at this,
sick.
Look at this, my body does now.
No. That she left by that point. She left. If she wasn't there, I actually would have done. I would have been this is one line, all the lines.
It's all the lines I need. No, I respect that.
Nah, so it's been a good week. I'm in this weird sort of place where I'm relaxed but focused. It's a weird sort of it's some weird avatar state shit I'm in at the moment, but I like it. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to just switching off and just focusing on what's next, and I think I'll have a lot of clarity on what we want to do for the pod. There's a lot of ideas I want to talk to you about afterwards, and I think I'll come back with more ideas.
Okay.
Because it's your best ideas come when you're relaxed and you're not really thinking about it. And I always say to you I had this idea in my sleep, or when I was at the gym, or when I was on a run. So I feel like I'll come back after 2 weeks being like, we should do this and we should think about this. So it's good, man. And it's like, I kind of consider the podcast like an extension of both our businesses. And I think that's the best way to view it, because like when I'm editing the pod, it's making me better at editing. And, I started like doing like some fun edits that I want to do with like some movies that I like, and I'll probably double down on them after the marathon as well. And then I want to set up finally my like Upwork and like Fiverr pages for like freelancing as well. And that's one thing that I've been really putting off because I fucking hate those websites. But one thing I also wanted to say, I know I've been rambling, is that we launched episode 1 last week, and I already could see the benefits.
How
personally. So I'll tell you why. So I think I mentioned it in the pod, or I might have mentioned it to you privately. I can't remember.
No,
the conversation's now blurred for what we do.
Yeah, no.
Outside
One
of
of our
the pod.
planning. Sorry for interrupting there, but in one of our planning sessions, you talked about it. I don't think you talked about it in the pod.
Okay.
I don't think you talked about it in the pod.
So I messaged like this freelance group of like editors, producers, whatever, like the pod, and one of the guys gave me feedback and said like, oh, you should do this like with your audio and use like Adobe Podcast AI stuff. And I was like, oh, bet. And I've been using that since, and that was really good. And I was going on the run the other day, obviously, because it's always what I'm doing. And he said, oh, Louis, could you help me out with this or like this project that I'm working, because I won't have time to edit. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, because I said like, look, the marathon's Sunday and I'm away on Tuesday, and to be honest, like this is my time, I actually can't. And I said to him like, look, if you really need me, I can do it Monday and Tuesday, because I was just like, you just got to say yes to these things. But he said, you know what, man, like, it's all good. But I said, whatever project you're interested in next, like I'll help you out. And bear in mind, he knows I'm not like a professional editor, and the chat is filled with people who are professional editors. But he came to me, which I found interesting. But again, it's that what we were talking about in terms of like putting yourself out there, asking for feedback, and like people want to work with you and things like that. And again, at work, this is a separate example that I didn't tell you about. A colleague of mine was like, oh, did I see that you oh, no, I think I did tell you this, actually. I didn't mention it on the pod. Colleague of mine was like, oh, are you interested in editing? I think I heard it on your podcast and things like that.
Yeah, you did tell me. Yeah,
and editing. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, I'm working on this video idea because he recently got married and things like that. And he was like, yeah, would you mind taking a look at it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely not, bro. So it's
absolutely not, did you just say?
I said, yeah, it's good. I said it's absolutely fine.
Not.
I was like, nah. Just shut him down immediately. But again, it's like, it's quite good that it makes me feel good that people are starting to align me with an editor as opposed to me just saying it about myself. So it's quite good that that's becoming a part of my identity externally. So yeah, those are my updates this week. I know it's been a well-rounded sort of discussion.
It must be nice to be you, man. It must be nice.
Bro.
Can we, because I know we've got a focus for today, right? I know we've got a focus today. We're going to talk about confidence and self-belief. And I'm going to slowly try and segue into that conversation with how your wins are making me feel jealous in all the best ways, to a point where I need to get my shit together. So I'll explain why. You sent me a picture of your mum sending you a card to say like, congrats and well done and everything. Yeah?
Yes, I did.
Bro, I was looking at that like, I'm jealous. Why hasn't my mum said that? Why is mum, where are my flowers? So that's jealous. That means, 2, before this, when we started, Rosie made the poster, made the mug for you, all the stuff.
And you got one as well.
Yeah, I got one. Thank you, Rosie. Sarah, where's my stuff? I'm coming for everyone. I'm upset. I'm upset because Louis gets shiny shinies. I'm getting nothing but being told to reseal the fucking shower tray. And it's gone horribly wrong. So I'm blaming everyone when I really shouldn't be. I should be internalizing it. Because you know what I reminded of myself of after my bout of jealousy?
Go on.
Is that at some point I've actually enjoyed all these flowers from the people around me. And I've not done enough with the appreciation and energy they've given. And I think in many ways that puts a lot of pressure on me. I put a lot of pressure on myself to try and achieve more. And in doing that, I set goals that I'm not sure I can achieve. So sometimes I think I do have I don't think necessarily confidence issues, but I don't believe in myself enough. And I kind of need social validation to keep pushing. But it gets to a point where people could say well done for so long before they start thinking when are you actually going to do the thing we're congratulating you for? Because right now we're just congratulating you for planning. You're not actually doing stuff. So
absolutely. And
yeah,
that's one thing which I wanted to, just adding on to that. It's when we launched, and we said in the last episode, I went into overdrive and you were just chilling. I was like, Sam, this is going to be the hard part, because we're now starting. And you don't get me wrong, I really appreciate people's comments and saying well done and it's really awesome and what you're doing. But I don't let those get to me, because it's going to sound egotistical, but I'm going to just bear with me. It's but the metric for success isn't in mind when they say those things. Because when you're like, oh, it's great that you launched a podcast, it's I'm like, that's great. Thank you. Continue to support. I really appreciate it. However, we're just at the beginning. And the reason why I think that way is because we've just started and our goals in sight are so far ahead that I don't like getting complacent and being I've done really good. I don't get me wrong, take the small wins, really awesome. Just for me, the benefit I get is when we see our name and our logo across all these platforms. I think it's awesome. And that for me is oh shit, we're doing the thing. And I feel the reward in that. I don't feel it when people tell me, oh, well done. Do you know what I mean? That might sound a bit harsh, but I don't get me wrong, I appreciate the support. But again, it's just
I get what you mean.
The job's not done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you mean. If my manager, if my mum said well done for getting a promotion, I'd be like, oh, cheers. But if my manager was or if the director was saying well done for getting a promotion, that means more to me in a weird way, because I know they understand what's required to get the promotion. So if they congratulate me for it, it's almost like they're telling me that all the stuff we know you should be doing, you're doing it right. Whereas if Sarah and my mum were well done, I'm just oh, thank you. You're proud of me. And that's kind of what I'm going for in the long run. But I'm also very aware that you don't know what the job is. I could have just weaseled my way through, and everyone at my job thinks I'm a dickhead. But you guys think well done because you got the promotion. So really, I'm saying well done, and it's very likely you don't understand why. So long story short, the people I work with, their congratulations matters more in that job sense compared to people outside of work.
Absolutely. And just to emphasize again, it's not the, I love that people support us and they're they're cheering us on, and that's great. But I just don't like digesting it and letting that consume me. Don't get me wrong, when we get to 100K having plaques and shit, and people saying well done, I'm gonna be best believe I'm taking a break, because we're gonna sweat until we get to that point.
No, I get that.
I think this nicely comes into the conversation we want to discuss today, because we want to talk about confidence and self-belief and the part that plays in your career, business, entrepreneurial journey, as it were. And to kick things off, because I just want to kind of skip a little bit to the conclusion, because I came into this prepping thinking why is confidence important for success? And you see these things success, confident people usually get paid more and things like that. And then, but I also like to have a well-rounded view of being why could I potentially be saying be crap? So I did a little bit digging, did a little bit more digging, and people saying people who have low confidence actually are more successful, because They're more willing to be prepared and have more criticism and things like that. So I was like, okay. So then I read a little bit more and referred back to this book, which is called Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday. I always mention him. And I actually don't think confidence is key. I actually think it's courage.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because when we describe what we've done previously, I can't actually think of times where I've gone into a situation and I've been fully confident about it, but I've had courage. And call it like bravery. That's what I kind of like mean. And it's the ability to do the action despite fear. And I think that's the key thing. So moments of courage build confidence. So I think courage is like a good foundation. And then when you do these actions of courage, you build confidence because you have the evidence of when it has paid off. So I think it's a combination of courage and evidence and I think that's sort of like a cycle triangle. So I don't know the best way to represent it, but in my head, it's kind of like courage and evidence are like a good base to build confidence.
Okay. I think I hear what you're saying. And it does kind of, it rings some bells with me, but I'd say, I don't know. I don't think I've been ever fixated on being courageous or confident. I think I've always in my head had a balance of whether I'm anxious or not, which is weird. I know it kind of like taking a mad path, to be fair, but I think I'm so fixated on not coming across as an anxious person that messes me up more than just focusing on, defeating the fear that's in my head and kind of going through. And in many situations, I do go through with tasks that I'm very uncomfortable with. But I'd say the only reason I go through with it is because I plan so much that it's almost like I see all eventualities or the more likely eventualities. For example, if I have to present in front of 200 people, I will go over that presentation again and again and again. I'll consider all the possible questions still to ask. And I'll try and in some way use it in my storytelling for that presentation. And the only time I feel like confident on stage, like present to people, courageous, I guess is the word to use now, then when I present to people is because I then feel like I know what I'm talking about because I've gone into it so many levels. When I don't feel confident, when I feel more fearful and uncomfortable, it's usually because I've missed something without knowing I've missed it. And it's something that I don't know whether it's some weird sixth sense or whatever it is, but every time I have that uncomfortable feeling and I'm about to do something I usually wouldn't do, it's because I'm not well prepared for it. So I that kind of aligns, I guess that aligns with what you were saying earlier about
I think
confident people are better prepared.
I think in those situations as well, like when you talk about like presenting and things like that, and I could definitely relate to that, is where you've basically built up evidence for yourself that you can do the thing that you want to do because you've rehearsed it so many times to the point where I know this shit, and so that confidence is earned.
Oh, you know me so well.
So as opposed to being like, I'm being confident without evidence is delusion. If you think you could just go and be like, oh yeah, I could do this, that's just arrogance. It's like most men think they can land a plane. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Because I know a few people that are listening to this right now be like, well, I could.
Shut up. I just triggered like 90% of men.
Half our friendship are going to message us. That wasn't about me, was it? And I'm going to say no. And I'm going to be lying because it was probably was about you.
But I'm thinking, but going back to what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to make sure I make as much sense as I can. So for example, when you because obviously we met in Thai boxing, right? And it's like when you go up to I made it a habit to go and spar with people who I knew were 100% better than me, right? Because you know you're going to get better when you spar with someone who you know you're better than, and you or someone you are like, you think you're on par with. It's fine. Sam, I always used to go and spar with you because I knew you could fuck me up. But it
I'd
made me
say-
better.
All my
So-
best friends, all the people I'm closest to, I've punched them in the face at some point in that journey.
I
don't know why.
I had a glove. I know some people didn't.
Some just throwing full fist to the face. To be fair,
Yeah.
I love them.
But it's like building confidence in those ways.
Yeah.
And when you have those moments of of courage, it's not like a moment where it's like, oh, I'm going to be courageous. It's never like that. It's usually I'm shitting bricks about something. But one of the things which, when I'm in that sort of like hole of I'm nervous or I'm anxious about something, like even when we're launching the pod, I told you I was like so nervous. I always like to think like, what is the alternative?
Okay.
Because the alternative be like, we don't post, we don't do it, and then we're just not doing the thing. So, and also it's like, okay, but what if this also pays off really well and people love it? So you've got to ask yourself, like, what if it goes really well when you're in that moment of, I'm really nervous about this, I'm not sure if I can do it. And when you're having those moments of self-doubt, I think it's important to come back to that and be like, oh, what if this actually goes the way that you want it to go? And I think that's really cool. And there was this really awesome post by our boy Alex Hormozy, who I wrote this down because I was like, this is actually really good. And it said, confidence without... this is what I got it. It said, confidence without evidence is delusion. You don't become confident with shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by an undeniable stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt.
Okay. Okay. I know what I'm doing today.
And I think that's really good. And I wanted to have this conversation because we've discussed about this in our planning meeting, and we were talking about affirmations, and we had a little bit of a debate about it because from my perspective, I don't think they are the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And the reason why is like, I don't think you can just say things and then have no plan of action. And I think we then, and going on to this was, I talked about a book which I read when I was younger, which I actually really liked at the time, which was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, which basically talks about the law of attraction and thinking positively to kind of get what you want out of life. Now, I do agree that thinking positively in negative situations is key because I think that gives you clarity. However, I don't think a lot of these books break down what you need. And it's like, Rhonda Byrne says like, oh, don't think negatively, which is just stupid because you are obviously going to think negatively. Now, like I said just like a few minutes ago, I like to give myself a well-rounded view. And last year I read a book called Manifest, and that book is by, what's her name? Roxy Malfosi? I can't remember. And because you hear about manifesting all the time, and I think I was in the mind that it's a bunch of bullshit, to be honest. I was very much in that space. But this book I kept on seeing getting really good reviews. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go in with a complete blank slate and just read it and see what it is. Now, this book I actually really enjoyed. On the contrary to things I just said, it actually was quite good because it actually gives a breakdown and step guide as to how she talks about manifesting. And it's actually practical. And I actually read this when I was in a pretty low mindset as well, like last year.
Okay.
And it was actually quite good. So yeah, I wanna ask you what you think in terms of building confidence, in terms of your thoughts on affirmations and things like that.
Continues; it will never die. Anyway, so I think if you wouldn't mind, let me share with the viewers and listeners more about the debate itself, and then come to the actual developed mindset I have about that conversation since then. So the original debate was what you've said, which is kind of essentially you think law of attraction's bullshit. Like, you think it's nonsense that you're saying stuff and then like hoping it will come true. Will work.
Yeah.
And my pushback to that was, it depends on the person's approach towards life and how they visualize things or how they achieve their goals. Someone like me has to kind of like speak to themselves, because I'm terrible at thinking things in my head and processing it in my head. I have to say it out loud. It's almost like posting a letter to myself. Rather than just reading it, I literally send information out and then my ears will hear it from the outside in, from like me basically shouting out loud. So sometimes I just talk to myself. And if I'm having like a really bad, unproductive day, I'll just start like telling myself off. I wouldn't do it in my head. I'll literally sit there and be like, fuck are you doing? Like, get your shit together. Do that. Like, go and get it done. Or that's essentially what I do. And in my head, I kind of see that as ways of like affirmations, of talking stuff into reality, because I inspire myself to get stuff done. Now, I think now I've kind of taken the backseat away from that conversation. I think we were saying the same thing in different ways, because you were saying that law of attraction is bullshit in terms of there are people out there who are literally saying like, because I've said this, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm now going to wait. Money will land in my account soon. It'll happen eventually because I've said it.
This is what I mean. Like, these books, people saying like, if you just say you're a money magnet, you attract money. That's what I mean. That's what annoys me.
So this what I was thinking is, I agree with that, but I think it's important to note that people can use affirmations to encourage themselves to actually do the thing. Because sometimes they've not got reinforcements around them to say the things they need to hear. So they have to say it to themselves. Sometimes you kind of need to stare at yourself in the mirror and kind of slap yourself in the face and just go, get it done. This is what I need to do. So I think,
there are a couple of examples where I absolutely agree that, I'm not saying affirmations are bullshit for everybody. I think they are for some people. I just don't think I'm one of those people in most scenarios. Now, I was just thinking this. The only time where I will genuinely talk to myself to get myself out of a negative headspace is when I'm on a run and I'm 20 miles in. Or not even 20 miles in. Some days I'm just like, you're being a whatever, get locked in. And it does work. And it was really fun because TCS, who run the London Marathon, they literally posted like an hour ago being like, oh, what's the thing that you say to yourself to keep yourself going and things like that. And one of them I actually thought was really cool. It was like, one day I won't be able to run and use my body like this, but today is not that day. Like they go
out here.
Bro, that was like Optimus Prime. Like I was like, I'm gassed after reading that. So don't get me wrong, I think affirmations have a place, and again, I think you and I are very fortunate where we're surrounded by a lot of people who are very supportive. Yes. And so I understand being your own hype man, 100 or hype woman. Hype person. I fully think that, and I think I said this to you, in terms of our approach to self-belief and confidence and things like that. I think it truly is a well-balanced diet of, affirmations, evidence, doing things outside your comfort zone. I think that's the best thing. And I love, this just popped to my head, I love Yes Theory's mantra, which is seek discomfort.
Yeah.
Those guys, and they say like yes to everything, to do things like outside their comfort zone.
Give me £1 million.
Dangerous, but it's like they're the guys who got Will Smith to do like the skydive into the bungee jump into the Grand Canyon and things like that. Those guys, that kind of came to my mind. But I think it is a well balanced diet of all these things that professional people talk about. We're not the professionals, we're just having open dialogue here. But I think you have to combine those mindset tools with action. And I think that's what The Secret annoys me about. Because it just says think positively and these things will happen. However, if you don't match it with, and you're actually actively trying continuously, consistently, despite when you feel like shit, that's when you actually get results. And that's kind of what I want to bring this back to. Because I used to do this all the time. Like, I think there are a lot of self-care, like, or self-improvement junkies who, you know, read these books and feel good and get gassed, and then, you know, one hurdle, then they don't want to do it anymore. Then they read another book, and it's a vicious cycle. And I definitely used to do this.
I do think a lot of these people that have found, I mean, let me add the caveat of, in every industry, there's a scam artist of some sort. In every industry, whatever it is, a doctor, plumber, nurse, anything you can think of that you put money towards, there's someone who's there who's scamming a living. And I think the same goes for some of these books and some of these authors. I think there are many people who are successful and talk about affirmations in the way that you don't like, where they just say positive stuff to yourself and things will happen. I think there are many people who are successful genuinely off the back of doing that, but that isn't the only reason. And I think in many cases, they don't fully understand themselves and how they've got to where they've got to. They see the one consistency of saying positive stuff to themselves has done well, but they might not be fully aware of what's going on around them. And it's something I touched on a bit whilst I was kind of doing my thesis, was kind of like, we want to look into Gen Z financial marketing and understand people. And one of the questions we ask people is basically, how much do you earn? And all these, like, we ask like weird, like, control questions to kind of compare them to the general population. And in the pilot study, we recorded them to see how they reacted to the questions, to see how comfortable they were with it. And when it came to the money, many people said what they thought we wanted to hear. One guy literally put, like, he ticked the 50K option and then bragged to his mates, like, I don't make 50K, but I will in the future. And I just said, but you don't make it for the purpose of this study. So, like, I've thought about it now, I'm not going to give you a trophy for making 50K, but the consideration we had was maybe one is because we're recording them, so we can see who they are, and there's no, like, bias around there. And then there's also the other aspects around needs versus wants. Asking someone questions and trying to get an understanding of their capabilities is basically trying to understand their needs and the outcomes around those needs. Whereas people actively consider their wants more than their needs. So if I ask someone, like, how much money do you want to make? A person wouldn't focus on the needs of how much do I need to, like, keep the lights on and all these things, and then make sure I've got my business in place. A person would say, I want $1 million, so I need to make $1 million. People tend not to answer questions in a way that actually reflects themselves properly. So what I'm kind of drawing back to is, I believe that some of the people that write these books are very successful in their own rights, but don't actually fully understand how they've become successful. So the little nuances in their lives that have led them into this journey, because they've not taken the time to hyper focus on the little steps they've made. And there's loads of, when you look back in life, there's loads of little moments that you can look to that you think that's a pivotal moment that I didn't recognize. Like for me, coming to Trent and coming to uni and meeting you and everything, that was honestly all potluck. Because my mate in sixth form picked all my unis for me. At that time, I really didn't care. Like, he just went, these are the 5 unis. These are 5 unis. Pick one. I'm just there. Like, I honestly, like, no one sat down and had this. So I look back and I think, I'm going to name drop him, Ed. I'm like, Ed has saved me here, because Ed, like, picked this uni and, like, so-and-so has led to this. But if I was writing a book about it and I forgot about that little moment, it wouldn't come into the story. I'll be talking about just about my depression and all these things and how, like, I just believed in myself and I got to where I needed to.
Yeah.
There's little nuances in that step, and I think some people aren't aware of it. But I'd also think there's other people who scam a living. They see that these books work well, and then they exaggerate it, and then they become their way. The nonsense they speak becomes the status quo of the topic. So, like, someone being like, "Just be proud of yourself. Just do this. Just do that." And then because that becomes, like, the most common way of talking about the topic, anyone else who wants to add a meaningful thing to that conversation rolls off the back of that nonsense and keeps going. And then you end up with a cult following of people who just say nice things to each other and make no progression in life, because they're hoping that the affirmation genie will just drop gifts on them.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's my little rant.
I wanted to ask you this because a couple of episodes we talked about our, like, low moments. And I think for me, those were particularly low moments of confidence.
Okay.
And what I wanted to kind of dive into is that we have worked at, like, our CVs look quite good. And I'm thinking of just, like, you know, where I've worked, and I'm not saying, like, oh, it's super, super hard to get into, but, like, it's not like an everyday company to get into. And I think
Right.
when I was like 19, because like first year uni, I think I had a lot of, and I think it kind of like goes into, let me just scratch that. I think sometimes, in a lot of cases, that you can see celebrities that who just have a load of confidence with no reason, and it pays off very well, right? And I think I could definitely relate to this because I had like no evidence, but I had a lot of confidence when I was 19 for no reason. So
Okay.
I'll dive into this. So when I was 19, we obviously knew we were going into I knew I was going into a placement year, and we get like a book. It was like rate my placement, and the number one company on there was Microsoft, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll go for Microsoft because, well, someone has to get it. And there's enough places, I'm sure it will be me. That's genuinely how I thought. I got a 2-2 in first year, and I'm at Trent, and I had like a little bit of work experience, but I was like, I'm sure I could pull this off. Like, I don't know why. My 19-year-old confidence was off the scale compared to now, and I don't know why. So I remember like basically befriending like one of the current interns and was just chatting to her about like the application process whenever it got to, and it paid off. And it was like 58 interns compared to like, they had like, I think it was like 1,500 applicants to a place. And it was just because I was very, very bold and thought I could do it. And it paid off weirdly well. And I had no evidence to be that confident. And I think a lot of people would have saw like, oh, okay, Microsoft's number one. I'm probably going to go for somewhere that's like in like the 20s. That's like within my reach. But I thought, I'm gonna whole-ass this. There's no half-assing. So I'm just going to go for the top company and see what happens. So I think confidence can come into a little bit of delusion can help. And there's some people who just have undeniable self-belief and it's worked out for their careers. Like, I know this is very controversial, but the person who comes to mind is Kanye West.
Oh my God.
Kanye West has the most belief in himself of anyone I've ever seen. And I saw this interview literally like 2 hours ago, and the guy was asking him, was like, oh, what would you do for your music? And he was like, well, if I were to be in the NBA, I'd be in the NBA. And he's like, no, you wouldn't. He's like, yes, I can. It's like, because I could believe I could do anything. And another person who comes to mind is KSI. KSI has a shitload of confidence. But the thing is, he just works and works and works and gets into and crushes all these other areas. And he's just, he thinks he's an average guy.
Yeah.
And his confidence he has confidence, but he also has evidence of doing these things. And what I'm trying to get around to is like, sometimes it's just confidence and evidence, and that's just a vicious cycle. Because I'm not comparing myself to Kanye West and KSI, don't get me wrong, but after Microsoft, I was like, cool, I've got this place now, and considering this is the hardest place to get to, getting to other companies should be within my reach. So that's what led to, I thought, okay, what are these cool companies that I want to work at next? And then it was Spotify. And then again, I thought, I'm just going to be bold, chat to HR, and because, I think I've got enough evidence that I can work here after being at Microsoft. And again, it's like, it paid off. And you're just continuing to leverage your kind of like your skills and where you've worked to kind of utilize where you want to go. And again, I think it's because I had that very undeserved confidence of a 19-year-old that I would like to have a little bit more of that confidence level, not to that extent, because like I said, the highs are highs and the lows are lows. But having that bold faith in myself, I don't think I have anymore. I feel like adulting has kind of taken a bit of that away. And I think it's probably for the best. But again, sometimes just like, oh man, if I had that confidence of like when I was 19, I feel like I could do anything. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on that and how you think your confidence or lack of confidence has helped you in where you've worked?
I'm sorry, I was just laughing because when you said about as a 19-year-old, you were like delusionally confident. I was like, boy, were you delusionally confident.
You're like, yep.
Yeah, I was just, because like you said it, I was thinking, because I just thought back to like a few times where like, the stuff you'd say, and I'm like, is he crazy?
You paid off with me and where I ended up working. So let's
Oh my God. Can I just say, no, this needs to stay in. This needs to stay in. Lewis's crazy confidence saved me at a very low point. And I will go back to, talk about more about the actual, my lack of confidence and my silly stories. But there was a time where I think I've talked about it quite a few times now in this pod, even though we're only on like episode 7. I've dropped this type of conversation so often about end of year, breakup, mental breakdown, feeling crap about myself. So then I messaged you to kind of explain the situation, like, yeah, things aren't going well with her. And you were like, oh, damn. All right, what's your address? And I was just like, I gave you my address, Next thing I know, a package just arrives with my name on it, like a box. And I was just like, eh? So I opened this, and it was like a load of Microsoft games, like everything. Like, you gave me an extra controller, and I was just like, I'm going for a breakup. When am I going to play Xbox? What's this going on?
Well, you needed a one to yeet. You know what I mean? Like,
true. Like, he gave me so many like little distractions. This guy basically just, with the boldest of hearts, rocked up and just went, "It's my boy's birthday." Just got bad stuff.
Yeah,
it was fine. If you say, I think what that really says to you is like, if you say things with the right tone and right confidence, people naturally believe you. And I know that little moment, you saved me. So if anyone comes after you, who's doing it for all the best reasons, screw you. You're a bad person if you don't like Lewis.
I know, that's fine. I'm clear now. But
no, but let me just wrap that bit up.
Yeah,
so, I think it does lend to the fact that if you say things with confidence and the right amount of self-belief, if that's someone's first initial interaction with you, they are likely to believe you. But it's very important that you follow up with more positive actions and more results off the back of your confidence. If not, people will start thinking you're crazy. And I think that's something you're very good at doing, is it's very clear that your confidence has rewards that people would love to emulate. And because people love to emulate, people love to be around you. And people love to actually kind of feed off that energy that you have. Now, back to my craziness. I was not a confident child at all. I exuded fake confidence of being like chatty, approachable, and all these things. But deep down, like, I knew I weren't shit. And I think it stems as far as like we talked in the planned episodes about sports.
Yes.
and like how like you're doing a marathon now when like old Lewis couldn't even win a race.
Oh my God! Right. So yeah, I feel like that's why I've been doing so much running. Just to quickly, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's
like, because my flatmate said to me, I was like, yeah, I hate running. He was like, Lewis, I don't think you do, because you just wouldn't do it. I think you love to hate it. And it rattled my brain for like 2 weeks, being like, I really need to like think this out. And I just had flashbacks to like, there was like a sports day in school, and I was forced to do like this 1,200 meter race, and I got lapped, and I came like almost dead last. And I remember again, like trying, like we had like this like field we had to run around in. And again, I had people like run back to find me because like I was just that slow. And I feel like I'm doing this all for like 12-year-old me. And I feel like this is like me healing like parts of my inner childhood. Because again, like you growing up, I wasn't a confident person growing up. Not until like really, really like late in life and like uni. And I still have like bouts of low confidence now, but again, I think I know how to hype myself up. And I think going through, in the previous episode, I talk a lot about getting myself out of that funk. But yeah, that's just a quick debrief. But yeah, go on to you, because there's a bullet point here I'll need you to talk about. I'm not going to say what it is.
I'll put it this way, I've never been good at sports, and the reason I jumped into Thai boxing and all these things, and like the reason I tried to run 5K and reason I like try to always hit a new PB in the gym is because in the back of my head, I'm very aware of how weak I used to be, and how I was very like, I was the go-to target for like the bullies, but I also always fought back. So I just ended up looking crazy. So there was a few moments, basically like we'd play rugby, for example, and I promise you, every day we'd play rugby, I'd end up for nosebleed every day. and it would be for the dumbest reasons. Like, it would be because I run down the pitch and my nose would be bleeding. Like, I was, and like, the worst part is, like, it got so bad that even the PE teachers had no faith in me. And I will tell you, to this day, they still don't have faith in me. And that's why I work hard in the gym, and that's why I put on my socials. Tell me why my old PE teacher went up to my mum, who now is at that school, and they in their staff room, by the way, and joked about how bad I was at sports. To this day, they still mock me for my sports skills back then. That's how peak life was.
Yeah, I actually really relate to this, because there's the reason why the only sport I can do is, I mean, I don't even count running as a sport, really, because I'm not, again, I'm not a pro, but that's the only reason why I did like Thai boxing and martial arts growing up, because anything that involved a ball or a stick, I was fucking useless at.
Well, same here. Like, so I know you wanted to tell this story. I'm trying to find a nice way to segue into it. But long story short, I used to get nosebleeds a lot, and I was just terrible. I was just a weedy kid. I don't think anyone was excited to pick me first in their team for anything. And it's understandable, because your team will be firm in L if I'm in the goal or anything like that. You're going to lose. Like, I am the charity case in your team, and you've got to respect that. And I thank all the people back then who took a chance on me. But it got to a point where there was a day where I had no one to play with in the playground. I found a basketball. So I was just playing on my own. Lewis, tell me why I played basketball on my own and still ended up with a nosebleed. Tell me why that happened. Tell me why I decided that I'm going to play pass on my own. And how I was going to do that was throw the ball at the wall and see if I could catch it. And I missed, and it hit me in the face. Tell me why that happened. And then I had to go to like the nurse's office and just sit there. And then she's like, how did this happen? And then I was like, play basketball. And the first reaction was like, oh, Sam, who did this to you? And I couldn't say anything. I just went, it hit my face. And this woman just tried her hardest not to laugh at me.
How old were you when this happened? How old were you when this happened?
This would have been, yeah.
If it ends in teen, this is an L. Okay.
Oh, I was a teenager. Wait, year 8. Are you teen in year 8? Yes, you are. Oh, yeah.
You were 12. You were 12 or 13.
I think I was 13. I was definitely 13 or 14. So year 8, year 9.
I'll tell you what, I don't know whether to laugh or cry, but you know what? You're a BMW driver, a podcaster, and you're getting married. So you know what?
Let's go.
It's okay. It's okay.
I can lap pull down 250 kg. Just wanted to add that.
Really?
Yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Bad.
Every now and then, I just think back to that moment the ball smacked me with my face, and that's my information to work harder.
That's your unlimited pre-workout.
That was the villain arc, and I did it to myself. But yeah,
man. Yeah, man. I think it's good now. I feel like
I just had a bad flashback to the moment. Like, I just froze because I was just like, can't believe that fucking happened. But yeah, I was a weak kid. But I will say, sorry for cutting you off there. I will say it has led into school was a tough time for me, even though I didn't realize it was a tough time, because I was just delusional about the fact that people thought I was weak. I laughed and joked past a lot of nonsense, and it kind of toughened me up a lot, because I faked confidence to a point where I just had confidence in myself. Like, people would pick on me, and then there was a time where I just decided, like, nah, because if I'm going to be confident and act like I'm not bothered about it, if someone picks on me, yeah, I'll fight you. So then I became that guy of, like, no one wanted to, like, pick on me anymore, because as soon as they did, I'd fight back. Like, I would never say no to a fight. No matter how big they were, I'd stand, no, full well, I'm going to get my ass whooped. I'll still stand my ground and fight back. And it has built me into definitely not a violent person anymore, although I really did enjoy Thai boxing for all the best reasons. Although it has developed me into a person that is more resilient, I would say. And I'd say, although I have low confident moments, or those little harsh moments in school, or the like hard times where people will pick on you, you'd be like, oh, go away, all these things, I'll laugh it off. It turned me into a very resilient person, and it also made me a very sarcastic person, which has actually proved to help me a lot now, because people think sometimes I'm just being funny, but low key I'm just like piss off.
I feel like me and your close friends know when you're being serious, and when we know you actually secretly hate this person you're talking to.
Exactly, but that's the thing.
It's
like,
very
others
very
don't.
subtle difference. I know others don't.
Others don't, and then that kind of helps me, because I can, from the perspective of a stranger who's kind of taking the piss out of me, I'm being tolerant to their nonsense, and therefore to them I'm approachable and I can get along with their banter. And eventually we'll get to a level where they will get to know me better, and then they'll see someone else do it to me, and then they'll just be like, oh, Sam really does think he's a dickhead. It's like, yes, I do. And I thought the same about you too. But anyway, back on.
I wanted to.
That's a mad soundtrack. I don't know what story I was trying to tell there, but we're back now.
Yeah, I just really wanted you to talk about the nosebleed in the basketball. You're right, because
you laughed too hard when I told you that story the first time. You laughed way too hard.
No, you typed it out. I want you to paint a picture with words for me. So I kind of want to bring this full circle. So
yeah,
now bringing this back to anxious extrovert, being on your entrepreneurial journey. How do you think that you need confidence to run a business? Or do you think you need high levels of self-belief and things like that?
I do. And I know you talked about placement, and I'll bring this onto placement. So I didn't believe in myself at all during placement year, because I knew, like, people thought I weren't shit. It's going to be a harder journey for me to get to where I need to get to. So I kind of just enjoyed being mediocre and just trying to find value in being mediocre. I had such low confidence that in my placement year, I didn't apply for any companies to work for, because I just thought they were going to say no anyway. What I did instead was I went to the Hive at NTU. I basically said I want to set up my own business. So basically my plan was to just DOS for a whole year and then claim I was working on my own business. And that's what I was really doing. And that was purely because I didn't believe in myself. But from everyone else's perspective, I was taking a massive risk, and they were all so proud of me. Like, the Hive obviously was like, oh my God, he's so smart. He's such a businessman. He really cares about business and all these things. Really, I just feared rejection, and I didn't really want to apply for, because everyone else was going on to like work for like Hasbro's and all these big product design companies, and someone's making like packaging for Cadbury and all these things. So I'm just there like, right, I'm just going to go sit on my ass for a year and come out with some fake portfolios and just pretend I did placement. And it ended up working out for me, because I got to a point where I realized that I faked it to a point where people really are expecting me to do well or fail badly. And there's a lot of people that expect me to come back in third year and laugh at me, because I spent my whole placement year clearly chatting shit. And there are a few people that expect me to come back and talk about how much money I made, how great it was to work for myself. So I decided to actually do some work in that placement year. And like, the low self-confidence ended up creating a situation that helped me prove to myself I could do it if I put my mind to it. And I actually came back with, I would argue, a better portfolio than most people in my year, because I didn't just work for one company. I ended up working for like loads of local businesses in Nottingham, designing for some people. I designed t-shirts for some people, logos for others. I did like a brand portfolio for some people. In like the 6 months to a year I was doing this for, I did a lot for someone who was like, who's basically a freelancer. And I was very proud.
That's good, man.
So yeah, that was my first. I'd argue that wasn't my first job. I had other jobs at the time. I worked at Ted Baker. I've done loads like retail and bar jobs and all these things. But that was like my first job within like the business realm that made me go, yeah, maybe I should believe in myself a bit more, and maybe I should keep going. But yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No. I was just, I agree. And I think you definitely got a lot more out of it than if you were to go for...
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think you would have hated internship, because, you end up doing useless crap, man, and you hate authority enough as it is. I think I
really don't like authority,
Yeah, man. In terms of, like, bringing this back to starting a company, starting editing and things like that, I got really used to actively seeking feedback. And what I love about growing up in my household is that if I asked you, this was like when I'm an adult, not when I'm kind of like 5, and I got like, like shitty childhood drawings here telling me I'm like an artist. But like when I actively seek feedback, they will actually give me their honest opinion.
Right.
And I used to be like quite sensitive to feedback, and then I just kind of got used to it. And the thing is, I understood it's going to make me better. So when I first started editing, and I talked about like the Spider-Man video that I did, I don't think I wanted feedback on that at that time, but I hit a point where, you know, I was just kind of editing for me and things like that. And I kind of understood that I'm actually going to need feedback from people in order to get better. So even if I'm not confident, I need to do this anyway. And that's where the kind of the courage, you need courage more than confidence, in my opinion, because when confidence fails for you to act, you need courage as a backup system in order to do the thing that you need to do. And I'm not saying that you have like blind courage and you do something that's going to financially fuck you over. It's definitely not that. But I think when you have a little bit of a calculated risk of this could either pay off really, really well, or it might go to shit. It's those individuals that act that I think it pays off quite well. Because even if it doesn't go the way that you want it to, I think you can see it as a learning. I think you can see it as a learning experience.
Wait, tie that up again properly. Because you lost me a bit there. Are you saying that the people in your life kind of give you the courage you need to then actually be confident in your idea? Is that what you're saying?
Not exactly. I think if you're in moments where you have low confidence, I think you need courage. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. Because if you're not confident about something and it causes you to stagnate and not do the thing, you need courage. And I think courage in terms of like seeking feedback, I think it really is like it's a case by case scenario. But I'm relating this to my personal experiences recently, where it's been more of a actively seeking feedback and the courage to seek feedback and put yourself out there. I think in that scenario, you need courage. And it's like things like with the podcast, with them showing my videos to like editors and things like that and telling me what you think. I'm putting myself out there for people to be like, this is shit. And it will crush me because it's something that you put in for hours. But again, I'm learning to detach myself from the video and be like, I need feedback because all in all is going to make me better. And if people like it, that's great. But actually, negative feedback, I think for me is far more valuable, because I think I've said this in a previous pod, but like I could send a video to people who aren't editors and who don't necessarily have a creative eye, and they would be like, oh yeah, this is sick. I really value feedback. And one of the things that give you a perfect example. So when I did the video for the marathon, most feedback was like, this is really cool, like really liked it. Person I went to school with, he messaged me on LinkedIn and he messaged me about like the lighting, and it like flickers in like the video because I actually have like the light bulbs in it. And it's something that I didn't even notice. And he was like, yeah, I've noticed that you do this. If you go and follow this tutorial, you actually figure out how to solve it. And I really appreciate it, because it's something which, dude, I watched the video hundreds of times and it was this detail that I just completely did not notice because I just didn't have the eye for it because I was new. But because obviously he was a bit more experienced, he lended his advice to me. And that was I'm going to shout him out. That was a guy called Nathan. So shout out Nathan, because
thanks, Nathan.
He made me better. And it's something which I'll never do again. And I was like, I actually really appreciate your feedback, because
fair play.
I actually didn't know how to improve on it, because I was like, I put everything I had into it. What I'm basically trying to say is, have the courage to actively seek feedback. And I think that's really great to do. And I think, again, it's like using that to kind of build your confidence. I hope this has made a lot of sense, because I know we're throwing a lot of
it's a hard
terms, and I think it's a case by case scenario. But I think courage is important to build.
Sorry to interrupt.
Evidence, and in that case, it then builds confidence.
Sorry to interrupt there. I was trying to like jab in halfway through. That's rude of me.
That's all good.
It's been good. I think for me, this has been a hard conversation to focus on, because to this day, I don't think I'm as confident as a person as I need to be successful. I do think I display more courageous behaviors more than I did before. I kind of fight my fears and put myself in more uncomfortable situations. But I'd say one thing I'm not comfortable with, and one thing I'm getting more comfortable with, I guess, is feedback, and just accepting feedback for what it is. It does get hard to ask for feedback from people that you think actively don't want you to succeed anyway. If you get what I mean, because for
I understand what you mean.
Like sometimes I get the energy like I'm asking for feedback, but I think you see it as a chance to just take 3 shots at me, and like I don't know what I can gain out of this. But you know what? I'll let you land now because I think my mindset's improved after I read that book on.
I think you have to be cautious of who you see feedback from. If it's something, I think again, getting like a generic view, like if it's something is very like open to opinion, like a video, it's different. But if you're, for example, with gym, right? If you see someone with awful form in the gym, right, you're not going to ask them for advice, are you?
No, true.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think when you're actually seeking practical advice on how to improve, you need to go to someone who's already doing the thing and they're doing it better than you. That's the key point. For example, with editing, you can kind of put this into like different scenarios, but like, you know, you might want an editor's opinion, a producer's opinion, and a viewer's opinion, because those are the different perspectives of who you need to please. Be it with your work, you might want to think, okay, how's the client going to like it? Is your boss going to like it? And again, you put on these different hats in how you view your work, and I think that's how you should kind of approach it.
I was going to link to that book that just keeps coming back, and I'm so happy I've actually decided to listen to the audio book with it and complete that. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. Or that.
Your favorite book of all time now.
It's now like my favorite. It really is now my favorite book of all time. Shut up.
Look at that.
Shut up. And I'll say it's because I now think of aspects that book has taught me about myself, which is it doesn't really matter if they're taking shots at me, because one, I'm not that special, and two, if I really do want to improve and I need to, and I really see myself as, you know, fixing little errors I'm not recognizing, then someone being able to take shots at me is kind of making me aware that there's clearly stuff that I'm not doing right that gives them ammunition to take shots with. Because if they're able to say if they're able to say stuff that upsets me, but deep down I know it's true and that's why it upsets me, then I need to work on fixing it and stop being a little bish about it. And it's kind of, I'm saying this cautiously because I'm also aware that there are certain people that their journey to self-confidence has to be navigated with more care, more cuddles, more like love, you know, more conversations. Whereas my journey to self-confidence is self-taught. Because I don't really rate authority, and I explain why I don't rate authority, because I think we've said this a lot in a lot of episodes and I've touched on it, but there's other reasons why I don't really rate authority. But because I don't really respect authority as much, I don't learn well from people kind of trying to force me to do things. Someone being like, just get on with it, or like, just run the miles, like, just do it. Like, people who do that, I'm just like, how about I don't?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Drag me across the...
Or how about you go fuck yourself?
Yeah, literally, like, oh, fuck off. How about I'm going to sit here and carry me the rest of the race?
I get you, man.
But I will say it's because, like, I went to school in Ghana before we moved to the UK that did corporal punishment. For those who don't know, corporal punishment is they put hands on you. Like, if you do something wrong, you're getting caned, or you're going to do like 20,000 squats in the corner of the room whilst your friends point and laugh at you because the teacher's feeling a bit confident today. They're feeling like they're powerful. Wait till my mum comes in and ruins your day, which she always did. Love you, mum. But yeah, it was because like I came from that background. My response to that wasn't necessarily, oh, okay, let me make sure I'm not in trouble anymore. My response to that was avoid them. Stay out of it. I used to not even hand homework in because I didn't want feedback, because if I got it wrong, if I got a question wrong, they'll cane me. So I'm like, if I don't hand my homework in, you've got nothing to mark me on. You've got nothing to mark me on. I'm not going to get caned. What are you going to do? Tell me I'm not handing my homework in, and I'll just tell you I'll bring it in next week. And then when you're about to cane me, I'll be like, what? You cane me because I haven't done my homework? Sorry, a lot's going on right now. I'm confused. So I just used to avoid... stuff to avoid beatings. And then that, obviously, you come into the UK where it turns out social services is a thing. And like, if a teacher tries to put hands on you, I just make a call and they just disappear. Like, what a wonderful country we live in, people. Right? So I came here, but I still had that mindset in my head of like, I avoided authority, because if someone tells me to do something, my brain is kind of like, well, if I don't do it properly, you're going to hit me. So how about I just don't do it? And because I know you can't hit me, you can't tell me off. You can't tell me off for doing a bad job if I don't do the job. So I'm just going to walk away now. That was my reaction. But I have come to find that the managers I have rated the most are female managers, like people who take more of a maternal approach. Like, and it sounds weird, but it's kind of like my mum has guided me for a lot in life. I have learned a lot of skills from my mum, who technically is an authority figure. And although I'm someone who hates authority, I listen to my mum. I listen to my aunties. Like, I've come to learn that the females in my life tend to be more maternal, but it's the thing I'm trying to get to is that they take more of like a comforting approach to guiding me rather than just shouting down at me and getting things done. There were times when my mum was throwing hella flip-flops across the room. But
with accuracy as well.
Pure accuracy. Like, why she wasn't recruited by the CIA, I do not know.
There's a homing missile.
You know what? There are moments.
That's a whole episode.
That's a whole episode, and I'm going to divert a little. Mum, there are moments where that flip-flop broke the laws of physics, right? I'm in the other room. Tell me why it's curving around the corner like we're in the Wanted movie. Tell me.
Bro, I have a 20-second story to tell you because my dad told me this. So my grandmother on my dad's side was blind, and my dad, this was when he was younger, was like messing about, and my dad was just like, well, you can't catch me, you can't beat me, whatever. Like, blind grandmother, like, yeeted a broom, and it like hit my dad square in the head. This woman was blind. Unbelievable skill.
It's nature, man. I'm telling you, it's nature. There's like,
I don't know what it is.
There's some superpower that just.
I don't know what it is. But yeah.
Anyway.
Urban a Black Panther, man.
Yeah.
Right.
This has been such a wonky episode.
I know. I quickly just want to touch upon as well, like, because now we've talked about like confidence and how we kind of build it up in our experiences,
right?
And I quickly want to touch upon low levels of self-confidence and how that can be beneficial. Because one of the things which I looked at is that, and I think I definitely do this a lot when I have more care about my work, because I think when you naturally give more of a shit and you're more invested, I don't think that confidence is going to come second nature because you really want something to land and go well, in my experience. So like, again, with editing, I will be very meticulous and make sure like everything looks right. And this is actually a tendency for people who have like low levels of confidence, and they're more, they analyze risks more. And I've noticed when someone's like super, super confident and they're like, oh no, it's going to go well, and have that blind faith, you're at risk of more tunnel vision. So in my perspective, I don't think to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be super confident. I think you have to, again, coming back to courage, take those risks when you have enough evidence. And I feel like evidence is the route to building confidence. That being said, depending on the role that you're in your entrepreneurial journey, I think confidence in certain areas is definitely beneficial than others, particularly if you're in a more public speaking role. Or you have to be confident in the work that you're producing, not necessarily in yourself, but in the work that you're doing, and that output, I think I think it depends on the area of confidence that we're talking about. In yourself, I don't think you have to be completely, fully confident, because I think I'm definitely not. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs aren't. I feel like there's pressure for entrepreneurs to be seen as the most confident people in the world, particularly because we're now, social media really values authenticity. Yeah. And I feel like entrepreneurs like being seen as these super confident people. I can't believe that every single entrepreneur has to have confidence. I feel like they are. I feel like you have to be so calculated as an entrepreneur, particularly as a CEO for these large companies, that you have to have levels of self-confidence to humble you. And I think the most successful thing that entrepreneurs can do is look at their idea and what they're doing and immediately think what can possibly go wrong in order to avoid those risks of fucking up.
I think confidence. I think the view of confidence is also quite situational, to be honest with you, Lewis. And I'd like to rewind back to when we were talking. You asked me a question of, do I think it's important to be confident to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
I answered that question quite selfishly because I think we as people who are open, honest, we record ourselves talking, and we've got a business and everything, I think we have to exude confidence, whether we like it or not, to be successful in our journeys, because we are actively tying ourselves, our personal journeys, to our businesses and what we do. And because of that, we're kind of crossing those brands. Like anxious extrovert, as much as I want it to stand its own 2 feet and I want it to be like a bigger thing than me and all these stuff, that what we're doing right now is actively playing a role in making us the reason why our business does well, rather than our business shining on their own for their own skills. I mean, yours is different because it literally requires you to be doing something. Whereas me, anxious extrovert, it's like the platforms we build should be the things that do well. And I essentially have to exude confidence because we're at that development stage where people need to believe I believe in the idea and I believe in the value of what I'm doing. And if I don't, then it's clearly a crap idea. And why sign up for an app that Sam doesn't even believe in, even though he's confident about? So I think the attribution of confidence is a successful entrepreneur. There's a role to play in how open the entrepreneur is about their involvement in their idea. And how much they want to market themselves. If you want to be a secret squirrel and you want to hide yourself away, then I don't think confidence is required. But I think that behavior in itself tells a story that you're not a confident person. I think it does make it very hard for you to succeed. But I think it makes it hard for you to succeed, but I think it's still possible to succeed without being a confident entrepreneur, because if you build the right team around you, you'll find the right players who can do the public speaking and all the other stuff for you. I think we need to be confident. There is a point I want to touch on after you're done to do with the hive, though, because I got some really good advice from someone that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, sure. I think one CEO who came to mind is actually Daniel Ek, and he is a CEO of Spotify, because he's quite an introverted guy, and he does public speak, but not very often. Whereas his co-founder Martin Lorentzen is actually he's actually quite good at speaking. But again, I think Daniel Ek exudes confidence in his idea and in his work. He does not come across like a super confident person. Do you know what I mean? I feel like he's very calculated, and I feel like what you're talking about is confidence in the product. Yeah. Whereas I think I'm talking about product in the person. I feel like if you have confidence in the product, I think that is key. Because if you're CEO and saying, "Oh yeah, not really confident in this idea," then you can't get investors and a team to support you. But I think if you could be like, "I'm not confident in myself, but I really believe in this idea," I feel like those are two different things.
Well, yeah, I think they are. I do think that being a confident, outgoing entrepreneur is important for the people that don't understand the technicalities of what you do. Because if you're talking to an investor or someone in the field you're working in, they very likely understand the nuances of the different products that are competitors to what you're trying to pitch, right? So they already know. They will ask you questions because they know what to look out for. You're just there to answer the questions. How you answer the questions might play a part in how they view the product, but really they're looking to understand if you've ticked the right boxes to indicate that this is a good product for them to invest in, or a good idea for them to invest in. Whereas there are people who are more likely to be the audience you want to reach who don't understand the technicalities for what you do. Like, we're building Hub. It's a website. It's a content creation platform. To the user, it's just a space I click on, I read a blog, or I can go watch a video that a wellbeing specialist has made. To us, it's more than that. It's a Next.js platform. That's like the coding framework you go in. It's got like AWS Amplify. It's got all these we've got all these layers of security we're building in. We've got all these layers of SEO. We use schemas. We've got like sitemaps, all that stuff, right? And when I get to that level of detail, there are certain people who would know that, okay, he's onto something here. However, to the layman, anyway, to the average person, trying to use words I don't even know how to say properly. To the average person that's asking and wanting to use the platform, I need to show confidence because they just have a view of, I want to be able to read blogs, I want to watch videos on this platform. And if I'm talking about the idea and I'm like whispering about it like this, and it's a kind of good idea, they're either going to think I'm some kind of genius weirdo, or they're going to think he's trying absolute nonsense. And if he's trying absolute nonsense, how am I supposed to expect this idea to work? They wouldn't know how to ask the technical questions to clarify whether the idea will work or not. They'll just base it on my attitude around it, and that would be the validation of the idea being successful or not. So I think in the world of business, that's why I say the world of business, being confident is key if you're you're the face of the brand, essentially. The point I wanted to come to earlier was,
Yeah,
we
go on.
did the Hive program, and for those who don't know, the Hive is basically like Nottingham Trent University's entrepreneurship arm for like students or local people in the area who want to start a business. The Hive is almost like this incubator where you go to. They'll connect you with the right businesses, the right mentors, and they'll guide you towards success. For them, I think they take a small cut of your business later on in the journey, or they can basically go, they get basically bragging rights to say they helped you become X, Y, Z. So in the Hive, I did it for my placement year, and there was a pitch phase where you basically put a business model canvas together, you pitch the idea. And I came up with a way to take the design consultancy I was doing in my placement year to the next level, where essentially I would create Fiverr before Fiverr was really a thing. I planned on making my own version of Fiverr, where students who are still at uni would sign up to it and basically do what I'm doing for my placement year. So you sign up during your placement year and you do like odd jobs for people in the local area. And off the back of that, I'll take a cut of the money. The business does well, these students do well. And why the platform would be so successful is that it works at lower cost. We've not got any overheads. I'm kind of doing this pitch now. We wouldn't have any overheads. It'll just be a website people sign up to. They submit their work back and forth to all this stuff. And the key thing the guy said to me was, this sounds like a great idea, but it sounds like you've only come out of it because you want to avoid talking to people face to face. And he hit the nail on the head, because that was exactly why I did it. It sounded like a good idea because I did everything I needed to make it sound like a good idea. But realistically, I built a business model that basically meant that I don't have to go face to face and have someone reject me on working on their design for them or any of this stuff for them. And it annoyed me when he said it because he was right. And it annoyed me because the way I was going to get his support as an investor and a mentor was to go out and do the thing I hated. So because of that, I just didn't turn up for the next session. I just dodged it, right? And do I regret that? Yes and no. I regret it because it was a moment of low self-doubt. I didn't believe I could do it. I didn't have the confidence to do it. But I'm happy because I can tell the story. And I can tell it as it was a teaching moment for me, because now look at us. Literally sat on a pod. 2 people have called me right now because they listened to episode 2 and they want to talk about it. And I'm going to get feedback off the back of it. And I'm more comfortable with it now than I ever was back then. So I think there are moments of low self-doubt. I think it is part of character building. We've all got trauma. We've all got scars that need to heal. But the sooner you focus on that healing and becoming a more dominant person in your own life, the sooner you start to realize that low confidence and self-doubts are indicators that maybe you've not covered a few areas properly. You need to work on them. But it also indicates that you're pushing yourself further than you have before. And that's why you're uncomfortable.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, that's a good note to end on. And I remember I remember speaking to Rosie when she moved job and, she was feeling overwhelmed. And I said, you only feel overwhelmed because you're growing and you haven't done these things before. Yeah. And she was like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. But yeah, man, completely agree with you. I think that's a good note to end on, actually. I've really enjoyed this discussion. This has been well-rounded.
I've enjoyed it. But I feel sorry for our viewers of this because it's been a bit waffly. I'm not going to lie. I feel like we've waffled a bit. So you know what? Send us feedback. Has it or has it not been waffly? Tell us what you think of the episode.
I think it's been good because we've had differing opinions. And I think that's good. As opposed to us being like, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah. True. No, I think it's good, man. I think we've had different experiences when it comes to this. Yeah. And I think that's good. And I think that will appeal to a wider range of audiences. Our current 6 listeners.
You know what? Look, man, there'll come a time when we'll look back and people will laugh. We will laugh.
That's what I think. And I feel like this has been a good time to talk about this because we obviously had the high of last week, and now it's kind of we're
back to reality. We're being humbled by the people.
And this is where it's like, I still feel confident about it because I believe in what we're doing. And this is more of, and that's more based off, I know the work we're putting in. It's not the numbers, it's not the evidence, it's confidence in both of us. and it's trusting in the process.
And I
So on
believe
that
in us.
So on that note, we're going to wrap up. And guys, if you're confident in us and want to evolve with us, then head on over to the YouTube and subscribe to the Podcast Evolve. Follow us on Instagram because we're going to post stuff on there soon as well, the Podcast Evolve. If you want to give us feedback as well, we really appreciate it. The podcastevolve@gmail.com. And if you're listening, please give us a 5-star review because it really helps us out. And we're trying to be Joe Rogan up in here. Not exactly him, but in terms of levels of
Joe
success.
Rogan. I want to sit there and be like, hey, Mr. Rogan. How you doing?
Samuel, anything else to add?
Not much else, guys. As always, have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful life. We look forward to maybe one day meeting you. We look forward to all your amazing successes in life. And we look forward to growing and shining with all of you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for watching me be an idiot and probably play with everything and not focus at all on what I'm hearing. In all, Lewis, I'd like to tell the people, thank you. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye-bye. Bye.